My name is Emily Arnold. I'm 28 years old, and I used to think I understood what stability looked like. 3 years with the same man, a cozy apartment, matching mugs, Sunday breakfast, it all looked like love. Until the nights started stretching longer than they should have, and silence became louder than any argument. Jason Miller. My boyfriend worked in corporate PR, smooth talker. Always well-dressed, always with a story about how exhausting his networking events were. I used to admire his ambition, but around 2 months ago, that ambition became nocturnal. 3 nights a week, sometimes more, Jason would text me last minute. Client dinner ran late. Don't wait up. Networking drinks, can't skip babe. Every time he'd come home well past midnight, he'd head straight to the shower, sometimes humming, sometimes dead silent, then crawl into bed with that easy charm of his and kiss my shoulder like nothing was wrong. At first, I brushed it off. He's career-driven, I told myself. I didn't want to be that girlfriend, the clingy, paranoid one. But there's a point where logic starts sounding like denial. It wasn't just the late nights. His phone suddenly had a password. His gym bag never left his trunk. And every time I asked about his clients, the stories were vague, like smoke slipping through my fingers. Still, I kept giving him the benefit of the doubt. That's the thing about love. It makes you see potential instead of patterns. But last Tuesday, something inside me snapped. I asked him if I could come along to one of those dinners. Just casually. You know I'd love to meet the people you're always talking about. He froze for a second, then laughed. Emily, it's boring. You'd hate it. I don't mind boring, I said softly. That's when his voice rose sharper, colder than I'd ever heard. God, why can't you trust me for once? I blinked. Trust you, I'm just asking to have dinner with you. He slammed his phone on the counter. Do you think I'm cheating or something? Is that what this is? This is my career, Emily. Not everything revolves around your insecurities. His words stung because they almost sounded true. Almost. I stood there staring at the man I thought I knew. His anger wasn't guiltless. It was defensive, panicked. And in that split second, I realized something. If he truly were innocent, he wouldn't be this angry. He'd be hurt. He'd try to reassure me. Instead, he looked cornered. I stayed calm, walked to the table, and picked up my phone. Good question, I murmured, handing it to him. He frowned. What's this? Just read it. His thumb hesitated, then swiped the screen. His face changed confusion first, then shock, then that cold, hollow panic that says you've been caught and you know it. It was a message from Tessa Ray, my best friend since college. The same Tessa who always defended Jason, who said, "He's a good guy, Emily, just stressed." But that night, Tessa had texted something else entirely. Emily, I can't keep this in anymore. Jason's not at client dinners. He's been going to this woman's apartment, someone from his CrossFit gym. He told me it's just physical, but I can't stay silent anymore. He's using your emergency fund sometimes to pay for their hotel rooms. I'm so sorry. Jason's hands shook as he read. The color drained from his face. He looked up at me, mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. I said quietly, "The emergency fund has $400 missing." I checked after Tessa told me. Then, with a bitterness I didn't know I had, I added, "Were the hotels nice at least?" He blinked fast, anger flaring. "You turned my best friend against me. You manipulated her when she was vulnerable. This is typical. You controlling, always needing to know everything." I almost laughed. I'm controlling because I comforted my friend when her boyfriend cheated. Interesting logic. "It's different," he shouted. "You've been distant. You don't even try anymore. When's the last time we did something exciting together?" "Last month, I suggested that weekend in the mountains," I said. "You said you were too busy." He hesitated, searching for a new excuse. "That's not the kind of excitement I meant." Clearly, I replied. Jason grabbed his keys, muttering under his breath, "I'm going to my brother's. Maybe when you calm down, we can talk like adults." He left without another word. The door slammed, the echo lingering like an accusation. I didn't chase after him, didn't cry. I just stood there in the dim kitchen light, staring at my reflection in the black window. You always think betrayal will feel like an explosion, but it's quieter. It's the sound of trust collapsing inward. I picked up my phone again and scrolled back to Tessa's earlier messages, the ones from before she confessed. Tiny things I'd overlooked. He was at CrossFit again. Right? He said he had a late meeting. All those little clues had been there, hidden under my own optimism. That night I sat on the couch until sunrise, staring at the door he'd walked out of. My chest didn't ache, it felt empty, hollow, but not broken. I think that's when I realized something important. You can't lose someone who's already been leaving you in pieces. The next morning, I made coffee, opened my work laptop, and sent a message to HR requesting to work remotely for the next few days. My voice was steady, my heart wasn't. When I glanced at our shared shelf, his books, his trophies, the photo of us at the lake, I didn't feel anger, just distance, like I was watching someone else's life. I didn't know it then, but this was only the beginning. Jason's lies weren't the end of our story. They were the spark that would burn the rest of it down. And as much as I hated the pain, a quiet part of me whispered something I didn't want to admit. Maybe I needed the fire to finally see clearly. The thing about betrayal is it rarely arrives unannounced. It leaves breadcrumbs. I just refused to follow them until someone else did. 3 weeks before that night, my best friend Tessa Ray had called me at 2 a.m. Her voice was wrecked, trembling through the phone. "Emily," she sobbed, "he cheated on me. 5 years and he was seeing someone else the whole time." I remember sitting up in bed, heart pounding for her. "Oh, Tessa, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to come over?" She hesitated. "You don't have to, it's late." But I was already grabbing my keys. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm on my way." When I got there, she was on the couch, surrounded by tissues, mascara smudged, staring at a half-eaten tub of ice cream. I dropped my purse, hugged her tight, and said the only thing that mattered, you deserve better. We stayed up until sunrise crying, laughing at stupid memories, talking about everything. And somewhere between heartbreak and healing, she mentioned something that didn't sit right. "Jason's been such a sweetheart lately," she said through tears. "He brought me dinner last week when you were working late. We ran into his CrossFit friend, Derek. He was with some woman. It was kind of awkward." I frowned. "Wait, Jason brought you dinner. He said he had a client meeting that night." Tessa blinked. "Really, huh? Maybe he dropped by before." She didn't think much of it, but I did. That was the first breadcrumb. After that night, she started texting me more often, checking in, sharing updates about her breakup and little things she'd notice about Jason's work events. Each message carried a tremor of unease. "Emily, are you sure Jason's networking stuff isn't weird? I don't want to stir things up, but some of the CrossFit girls were talking. He goes out a lot for someone who says he's busy." I brushed it off. "He's just focused on work," I told her. But the tone in her replies began to change from uncertain to guilty, until one night my phone buzzed with a message that made my stomach drop. "Emily, I can't keep this in anymore. Jason's not where he says he is. He's been going to a woman's place from his gym. Her name's Elena. He told me it's just physical, that it means nothing. But he's been using your emergency fund for their hotels. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have waited this long." I read that message 3 times, my hands trembling. Then I called her immediately. "Tessa, please tell me this isn't some misunderstanding." She was crying. "I wish it were." I confronted him. He panicked, begged me not to tell you. He said he'd end it. "But Emily, it's been weeks. He's still seeing her. I saw them leaving the gym together on Friday night. Same car, same lie." The silence that followed was heavy enough to drown in. And that's when something inside me hardened. I'd spent weeks second-guessing my instincts. Now I finally had proof that my intuition hadn't been paranoia. It had been protection. I didn't explode, though. I didn't even cry. I thanked her quietly. "You did the right thing, Tessa." When I hung up, I stared at the ceiling for a long time. My heart was trying to break, but my mind wouldn't let it. Somewhere deep down, I already knew this was coming. The next day, I checked the emergency fund account. $400 missing, withdrawn in small amounts, strategically spaced. It was the kind of deceit that wasn't impulsive. It was planned, practiced. So I planned too. When Jason came home that evening, humming like nothing had changed, I was sitting at the table with my laptop open. "Hey, babe," he said casually, loosening his tie. "Why are you up? You look serious." "Just working," I replied softly, scrolling through my phone. "Hey, I have a question." "Yeah, what's her name?" He froze, a faint laugh escaping. "What are you talking about?" "The woman you're seeing." His eyes darted toward the door like he was checking for exits. "Emily, you're being paranoid again." I turned the laptop toward him, open to the emergency fund statements. "You took money, multiple times, and you lied." He slammed the lid shut. "You're spying on me now." "Don't twist this," I said quietly. "You can't gaslight me with receipts." He stepped closer, eyes dark. "You've been talking to Tessa, haven't you?" "Of course. You turned her against me, just like you do with everyone. You manipulate people when you feel them slipping away." My voice didn't even shake. "No, Jason, you did that yourself." For a moment, he just stood there breathing hard. His jaw clenched. Then came the excuses, rapid-fire absurd. "It just happened. You've been distant. I didn't mean to hurt you." Every sentence was a way to dodge the truth, to make the mess look mutual. You could have talked to me, I said finally. Instead, you built a story where you're the victim. He grabbed his jacket. I'm going to my brother's. I can't do this right now. Of course, I whispered. You never can. The door slammed again, and once more I was left alone in the quiet apartment. But this time the silence didn't feel empty. It felt clarifying, because I realized something no one ever tells you. When a liar leaves, the air gets lighter. That night I didn't text him, didn't chase him. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat by the window, and watched the city lights blink like tiny confessions in the distance. In the reflection of the glass, I caught my own eyes and said it aloud just to hear it outside my head. He's not coming back as the man I knew. He already left as someone else. And in that strange calm, I made a silent promise. I would never beg for clarity from someone who thrived in chaos again. What I didn't know then was that Jason's chaos was only beginning to find its way back to me. And when it did, it would bring company. I always imagined closure would come with peace, some calm, cinematic ending, where you finally exhale and say, it's over. But that's not how Jason's story ended. He didn't fade out quietly. He spiraled, loudly. It started the day after he stormed out. He didn't text, didn't call, didn't even come home for his things. I assumed he was gone for good. But then my phone rang at noon. It was Mara, his older sister. Emily, she said, half yelling, half laughing. What the hell is wrong with your boyfriend? I blinked. Ex-boyfriend. What happened? She sighed. He showed up last night asking if we could give him our bedroom so he could have some privacy to make calls. Privacy. In our house. My husband nearly threw him out. I covered my mouth, trying not to laugh. It was ridiculous. Where is he now? Who knows? He left after we told him no. But girl, he ate my husband's meal prep for the week. Every container. Said he needed comfort food. When I hung up, I realized Jason wasn't grieving the breakup. He was drifting, leaving small disasters wherever he went. 2 days later, his mother called me. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity won. Emily, honey. She began gently. I don't know what's happening between you two, but Jason came home last night demanding we pay for a hotel. He said our guest room wasn't up to his standards. She paused, her voice trembling with embarrassment. When we refused, he tried to take cash from my purse. I didn't know what to say. His mother, who once adored him, sounded tired. I think she said softly, "You made the right choice, dear." That was the first time anyone from his family admitted it, and it hit me. Jason had finally crossed that invisible line between arrogance and self-destruction. But nothing prepared me for what happened next. Saturday morning, 7:00 a.m. I woke up to the sound of a moving truck outside. When I opened the door, there he was. Jason Miller standing in the hallway with a clipboard, wearing sunglasses like he was starring in his own redemption movie. He smiled. Morning. I'm here to move. I frowned. Your stuff's inside. I haven't touched it. Oh, I'm not moving my stuff. He brushed past me, stepping into the apartment. I'm moving yours. For a second, I thought I misheard. I'm sorry. What? He gestured around like a real estate agent showing off a listing. This apartment is toxic. You made it that way. So it's only fair that you be the one to start over. I'm keeping the place. I stared at him stunned. Jason, the lease is in my name. He froze mid-stride. What? You never wanted to be on it. Said it was too much commitment. I folded my arms. It's just me. He blinked, then scoffed. That doesn't matter. I've been living here. I have rights. You have 30 days, I said quietly, to collect your belongings. The calmness in my voice seemed to provoke him more than shouting ever could. He turned red, muttering curses under his breath. Then he grabbed my gaming console and said, You planned this, didn't you? You pushed me to cheat so you could kick me out. I didn't move. I didn't make you lie, or steal, or sleep with someone else. Unbelievable, he muttered, throwing the controller onto the floor. It cracked in two. Then he pulled out his phone. You know what I'm calling the police. You're illegally evicting me. Go ahead, I said, leaning against the doorframe. He hesitated, probably expecting me to beg or back down. I didn't. I just waited. 20 minutes later, 2 officers showed up, one older, one younger. Jason immediately started performing. She's kicking me out. She's manipulating my friends. She's emotionally abusive. The older officer raised an eyebrow. Sir, the lease is in her name. Jason nodded, confused. Yes, but then she's within her rights to ask you to leave, the officer said flatly. Jason's jaw dropped. But she turned everyone against me. The younger cop gestured toward the moving truck. Were you trying to move her stuff out when she's the leaseholder? Jason stammered. That's different. The officers exchanged a look. Sir, you have 30 days to remove your belongings. That's all we can say. When they left, Jason stood frozen in the doorway, eyes glossy with disbelief. Then came the storm. "You'll regret this," he shouted. "Everyone will know what kind of person you are." "Good," I said softly. "Tell them. Maybe someone will finally warn the next girl." He glared at me jaw tight, then grabbed his duffel bag and stormed out. The slam of the door shook the picture frames on the wall. For the first time in months, I exhaled. It was over, or so I thought. I sat down on the couch looking around the apartment. It felt both emptier and lighter, like someone had vacuumed the air of all its tension. That night I changed the locks, not out of fear, but finality. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and whispered, "To closure." The irony wasn't lost on me, because closure doesn't always arrive neatly. Sometimes it comes with a police visit and a shattered controller. What I didn't realize then was that this wouldn't be the last time Jason tried to reclaim something that wasn't his. If anything, that day was just the prologue to the performance he was about to stage, one that would make every red flag I'd ignored look pale in comparison. I thought I'd seen the worst of Jason's chaos. But what came next was less like a storm and more like a performance, loud, desperate, and tragically public. It started with my phone buzzing one Monday morning while I was setting up a Zoom meeting for work. An unfamiliar number popped up on the screen. "Ms. Arnold. This is Alan Porter, HR at Redwood Communications. We received a call from a Jason Miller this morning claiming you've been harassing him, showing up at his office, following him to work events." I froze. "I beg your pardon." He continued carefully. "I wanted to give you the courtesy of hearing this from me before we escalate. I've worked with you for 2 years, and I find this accusation odd." I laughed. Not out of humor, out of disbelief. "Mr. Porter, I work from home. I haven't been near his office in months." There was a pause. "That's what I thought. I'll handle it. You don't need to worry." When he hung up, I just sat there staring at the laptop screen, the cursor blinking on a half-written email. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the realization that Jason wasn't just angry. He was trying to rewrite reality. By that evening, the story had evolved. He posted on Facebook a long, self-pitying rant about emotional abuse control being driven to mistakes. He ended it with, "To anyone who's been manipulated into believing lies about me, you'll see the truth soon enough." I didn't respond. I didn't have to. Because in his thirst for sympathy, he made a fatal mistake. He included screenshots of our text conversations. Proof he thought that I'd been toxic. But the text told another story. "Jason, I'll be home late meeting clients." Me. "Okay. Just let me know if you need dinner saved." Jason. "You always make me feel guilty for having a career." Me. "I just asked if you wanted dinner." People noticed. Comments flooded in. "Wait. How is she abusive here, Jason? This proves nothing except that you're lying." By afternoon, he deleted the post. I remember smiling quietly, sipping my coffee. His chaos was beginning to self-destruct. But fate wasn't done with him yet. 2 days later, I got a call from a woman I didn't know. Her voice was steady, but there was an edge to it, sharp and cold. "Hi, is this Emily Arnold?" "Yes, who's this?" "This is Elena, Jason's trainer's wife. You and I need to talk." My pulse quickened. His trainer. "Derek. The man your boyfriend's been sleeping with my husband's mistress with. Don't worry, I'm not calling to fight. I just want to compare notes." I sat down slowly, gripping the edge of the counter. "I think you've already told me more than I wanted to know." She exhaled a humorless laugh. "I found out 2 nights ago. He told Jason he was single, said they were just blowing off steam." I believed it until I checked our security camera and saw her showing up to our house at 11 p.m., demanding to know why Derek wasn't answering. I went silent. "Elena," I said carefully, "I didn't know, I promise you." "I know," she replied. "Jason blamed you, said you were obsessed, that you couldn't handle him moving on." A cold shiver ran down my back. He said that, yes, he told my husband's gym buddies that you were unstable, that you hacked his accounts, that you were spreading lies. But here's the thing. When I confronted Derek, I got access to his messages. Jason wasn't just lying to you. He was lying to everyone. She took a breath. "You deserve to know this Jason has been seeing multiple women from that gym, not just my husband's mistress. He's been playing the same story over and over. I'm trapped in a toxic relationship. She doesn't understand me. I just need someone who listens." My throat tightened. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was pathology. I thanked her quietly. Before hanging up, she said something I'll never forget. "You should be glad he cheated Emily, because he's about to cheat himself out of everything else." After the call, I sat on the balcony, the city glittering below like 1,000 tiny lies reflecting the same light. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just exhaled. All this time I'd been blaming myself for not noticing. But Jason wasn't hiding a secret. He was performing a role, and everyone he touched became a prop in his story until the audience finally walked out. Over the next week, the fallout spread like wildfire. His CrossFit buddies stopped speaking to him. His own sister blocked him after he tried to borrow money again. And Elena. She made sure every member at the gym knew what kind of man he really was. I started receiving messages from strangers. Women who'd met him once, twice, who'd seen the same charming grin and the same practiced lines. He almost got me too, one wrote. I realized something. Then Jason didn't just cheat on me. He cheated as himself. Every version of him was a performance, and the curtain was finally falling. That night I lay in bed listening to the rain tap against the window, the soft rhythm strangely comforting. There was no more wondering where he was, no more pretending to believe his stories. Just quiet. I used to think peace was boring. Now it felt revolutionary. And yet part of me knew he wouldn't stay gone. Not someone like Jason. He'd lost control, and people like him don't handle loss. They try to rewrite it. I didn't know it yet, but his next move would make everything that came before look like rehearsal. For weeks, my life felt eerily calm. The noise was gone, the late-night arguments, the constant tension in my chest every time Jason's name lit up my phone. I almost started to believe he'd finally accepted defeat. Then one night at 3:04 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a voicemail. His name, Jason Miller, appeared on the screen like a ghost I thought I'd buried. For a long moment, I just stared at it, my finger hovering over play. When I finally listened, his voice cracked through the silence, low and unsteady. Emily, please. I know you don't want to hear from me, but just listen. I messed up. I know that now. Elena was using me, and Derek, he lied about everything. I lost everything because of them, and I don't have anywhere else to go. Can I stay for a few days, just to get back on my feet? I'll go to therapy. I'll change. Please, Emily. I just need someone to believe in me again. I listened all the way through, even as the tone of his voice softened into something almost pitiful. But when it ended, I didn't cry. I didn't even feel anger. Just the strange, clean quiet of finality. Then I deleted it. Not out of cruelty, out of acceptance. You can't rebuild trust on the ashes of manipulation. You can only start over without the person who burned it. The next morning, I told Tessa about the voicemail. She sighed. He's not sorry, Emily. He's scared. That's different. I know, I said, and I'm not going back. Tessa smiled faintly. Good. Because if you ever do, I'll personally throw your phone into the river. We both laughed. Real laughter, the kind I hadn't felt in months. Then she told me she was moving to Portland for grad school. I'll miss you, but this feels like the right time for both of us to start new chapters. It did. A week later, before she left, she introduced me to someone. His name was Ethan Ross, one of her co-workers. He had kind eyes and an awkward smile that didn't know how charming it was. We met for coffee once then again. He didn't try to fix me, didn't ask about Jason. He just listened when I spoke and laughed when I made dry jokes about trust issues and ex-boyfriends with main character syndrome. It felt simple, and that simplicity was healing. I wasn't falling in love again, at least not yet, but I was remembering what it felt like to breathe freely in someone's presence. One evening after dinner with Ethan, I came home and opened the balcony door. The night air was cool. The city buzzed softly in the distance. Inside, a small orange kitten pawed at a loose thread on the rug, my newest roommate. I'd named him Boundaries, because I needed a daily reminder that peace has rules too. As I watched him chase his own tail, I thought about Jason's voicemail again, about how desperate he'd sounded. Maybe he really did want to change. Maybe he even believed it. But change without accountability is just another performance. Over the next few weeks, bits and pieces of Jason's downfall found their way to me. His sister Mara mentioned he'd been couch hopping among friends, wearing out his welcome one favor at a time. Elena, the wife of his gym lover, filed for divorce and started publicly naming names, including his. Jason's social circle shrank overnight. I didn't celebrate it. I just observed detached. When people break their own world apart, you don't need revenge. You just need patience. One afternoon, my phone rang again. His mother this time. Emily, dear, she began quietly. I wanted to apologize. For everything. We didn't see what he'd become. You deserve better. I thanked her gently, and when I hung up, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. Because she wasn't wrong somewhere, somehow the man I fell for had disappeared long before the lies ever did. That night, Ethan texted, "Still up for that mountain trip you mentioned?" I smiled, the same trip Jason had always been too busy for. "Yeah," I replied, "let's do it." Later, as I packed a small bag, I glanced at the apartment that once felt like a battlefield. Now it was just home. quiet, safe. Boundaries curled up beside my pillow, purring softly. I turned off the lights and whispered into the dark. Sometimes peace doesn't arrive like a gift, it arrives like a choice. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly in the distance. But this time I wasn't afraid of the storm, because I'd finally learned to stand in it and not be pulled under. By the time spring arrived, Jason Miller had become a ghost story told in whispers. One of those cautionary tales that made people shake their heads and say he had everything and he ruined it himself. I didn't follow his life closely, but when chaos keeps circling someone like gravity, you start hearing about it whether you want to or not. It started with a text from Mara, his sister. "You won't believe this. He tried to rent an apartment and used my name as a co-signer. He even forged my signature and listed my income as his. The landlord called me to verify everything. I pressed charges." Fraud. I sat on the couch reading that text over and over. Jason's life wasn't just falling apart, it was disintegrating. He'd gone from lying to me, to lying to his family, to lying on official documents. Mara continued texting rapid fire. He begged me to drop it. I told him I'd only consider it if he agreed to therapy and paid me back for the credit check. He actually said, "You can't prove it was me." I had the handwriting analysis done. It was him. I didn't reply. I didn't even know what to say. There was no satisfaction, just a hollow sort of pity. But the universe wasn't finished showing me just how deep his self-destruction went. A week later, my phone rang again, this time from Elena, the woman whose husband Jason had cheated with. Her voice had that eerie calm people get after surviving a fire. "Emily," she said, "I thought you'd want to know. I hired a private investigator. Turns out Jason wasn't even the only one Derek was sleeping with." I blinked. I'm not surprised, honestly. She laughed softly. "Oh, it gets better. One of Derek's other girlfriends, Jason's manager. The same woman who approved those networking dinners he used as cover stories." My stomach turned. "You're kidding." "I wish." The PI found emails Jason submitted false time reports to match his lies. The company fired him last week for time theft and falsifying records. I rubbed my temples. He's lost his job, his home, and now his reputation. "Yes," Elena said, "and his wife's divorcing him with evidence from the PI. She's taking everything. Karma moves fast when it's overdue." When I hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. The world outside was quiet, the city glowing beneath a soft spring haze. Jason's voice still echoed in my mind from that last voicemail, "I'll change, Emily. Just give me another chance." Change. The word had lost all meaning in his mouth. A few days later, his mother called me again. Her tone was different this time, tired, resigned. "Emily, I just wanted to apologize. For real this time. We thought he'd grow out of it. The lying, the excuses, the charm. We failed somewhere along the way. Watching him implode like this." She trailed off. "We keep asking ourselves where we went wrong. You deserve better." For the first time, I didn't feel anger toward any of them, only sorrow. "I don't blame you," I said softly. "We all believed in the version of him he wanted us to see." When the call ended, I sat on my balcony, the wind brushing against my face, the sun dipping low. It wasn't triumph, I felt it was peace. Jason's story was no longer mine to carry. I picked up Boundaries, my tiny orange cat, and smiled as he pressed his head against my chin. "We did it," I whispered. "We made it out." That weekend, I drove toward the mountains, the same trip Jason once promised we'd take someday. But this time, I wasn't waiting for anyone. Ethan had packed snacks, music, and that easy laughter that came so naturally to him. When the city faded in the rearview mirror, I felt something uncoil inside me. Freedom doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like breathing air that's finally yours again. We stopped at a lookout point where the sky stretched wide and golden. I leaned on the railing, the wind catching my hair, and thought about how far I'd come from the woman who once waited by the window for a man who never came home on time. Jason's downfall had been loud, messy, public. Mine had been quieter, an unraveling of illusions, a slow rebuilding of self-respect. And as much as I wanted to erase every trace of him, I couldn't, because without his lies, I might never have learned the value of truth. I turned to Ethan, who was smiling at the view. "You know, I said I used to think the worst thing that could happen was losing someone you love, but it's not. The worst thing is losing yourself trying to keep them." He nodded gently. "And the best thing." I smiled, realizing you don't need them to find yourself again. He reached for my hand, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't pull away. As the sun dipped below the mountains, I whispered one last thought, not to Jason, not to the past, but to myself. Sometimes the best revenge isn't anger or proof, it's peace. The kind that doesn't need an audience. And with that, I finally let the story end. Not with a scream, not